Welcome to Echoes of Faith, where stories of hope, grace, and redemption come to life. Each story is a journey of faith, a testament to the power of God's love, and a reminder that no one is ever too far from His grace. Behind the pulpit of one of Atlanta's most powerful churches lurks a secret darker than sin itself. A son betrayed, a truth buried, a faith tested in the shadow of power. This is the journey of Timothy Aldridge, the redemption only God could script. Beneath the Pulpit, the next episode in the Echoes of Faith series. Timothy Aldridge took a deep breath as the prison gates clanged shut behind him. The harsh sound echoed in his mind, a grim reminder of the last 3 years spent behind bars. The sun felt foreign on his skin, the city too loud and too bright. His time inside had been a crucible, forging his resolve and sharpening his mind. He had nothing but time to piece together the puzzle of his imprisonment, and the image that formed was damning. It was his own father, Pastor Richard Aldridge, who had orchestrated his downfall. The beloved leader of a megachurch in Atlanta had betrayed his youngest son, ensuring Timothy's incarceration to pave the way for Aaron, his elder brother, to take over the pulpit. Timothy's jaw tightened as he walked the familiar streets toward home. The grand houses of the neighborhood looked the same, but he felt like a stranger among them. Memories of his childhood here were now tainted with his father's treachery. He thought of his mother, Ava, the first lady of the church. She had always been a beacon of grace, but he couldn't shake the feeling that she too had failed him. Had she known? Could she have stopped it? His mind churned with these questions as he arrived at the front door. The house was quiet, almost eerily so when Ava greeted him. Her smile was brittle, and he could see the tremor in her hands, the faint smell of alcohol lingering around her. This wasn't the mother he remembered. He confronted her, his voice edged with bitterness. "Did you know, Mom? Did you know what Dad did to me?" Ava's eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head vehemently. "Timothy, I had no idea. You have to believe me. Your father, he's a powerful man. It's hard to stand up to him." Timothy's anger flared. "You're his wife. You should have protected me." Ava's sobs were the only answer he received before he turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. He wandered the halls of the house, memories flooding back, each step stoking the fire of his anger. Finally, he found himself in his father's study, a place he had once revered but now loathed. The door creaked open, and Pastor Richard Aldridge looked up from his desk. The moment their eyes met, the tension in the room thickened. "Timothy," his father said, his voice a blend of surprise and sternness, "what are you doing here?" Timothy stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "I know what you did," he said, his voice low and controlled. "You put me in prison to clear the way for Aaron. You betrayed your own son." Pastor Aldridge's eyes hardened. "You don't know what you're talking about. I did what I had to do for this family and for the church. Aaron is the rightful heir." "Rightful heir?" Timothy scoffed. "This isn't a monarchy, Dad. You ruined my life for your ambition, for your image." The pastor stood up, his face reddening with anger. "Watch your tone, Timothy. I did what was necessary. You were a distraction, a liability. Aaron has the discipline, the commitment." Timothy's fists clenched. "And what about me? You threw me away like I was nothing. Do you have any idea what prison was like? Do you even care?" Pastor Aldridge pointed towards the door. "You need to leave. This isn't your home anymore. Go find somewhere else to stay." Timothy glared at his father, the man he had once idolized, now a stranger. Without another word, he turned and walked out, his heart pounding with a mix of rage and betrayal. He left the estate, his feet carrying him instinctively to the church dormitory. Brian Sessions, the youth pastor, welcomed him with open arms and a listening ear. Over a cup of coffee, Timothy recounted the confrontation with his mother and his seething anger toward his father. Brian listened patiently before offering his advice. "Timothy, you need to let this settle. Confronting your father now will only lead to more pain. Trust in God's plan and give it time." Timothy nodded, but the fire in his heart didn't dim. He spent the night in the dormitory, tossing and turning, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Several days later, his phone rang. It was his father. The conversation quickly devolved into another heated argument. "Why are you calling me, Dad? Haven't you done enough?" Timothy spat into the phone. "I called to tell you to come to the estate," his father replied coldly. "I have something to say to you." 30 minutes later, Timothy stood before the imposing gates of his family's mansion, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. But now, driven by a need for answers and justice, he pushed open the gate and strode up the winding driveway. The mansion loomed ahead, its grandeur a stark contrast to the turmoil within Timothy's heart. He raised a trembling hand and knocked on the ornate front door. Moments later, it swung open, revealing his father, looking every bit the stern and composed leader of a megachurch. Timothy squared his shoulders, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. "I'm here. You wanted to talk, so talk." Pastor Aldridge's expression hardened. "I just want to stay away and not cause trouble to this family. We can't have a ex-con ruining the family." "Cause trouble? I'm not the one who betrayed his own son." Timothy's voice rose, his anger barely contained. "You owe me an explanation," he insisted, stepping into the foyer. "You put me in prison to clear the path for Aaron." His father's face darkened with anger. "You were a liability. Aaron is the future of this church." Timothy's fists clenched at his sides. "I was your son. How could you betray me like that?" "You are not my son," Pastor Aldridge said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You were a mistake." Timothy felt as if the ground had been pulled from under him, his breath caught in his throat. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Pastor Aldridge said with disdain. "You are not my son." Timothy recoiled as if struck. "You're lying," he whispered hoarsely, the sting of betrayal cutting deep. "I wanted to tell you in person, Timothy," his father snapped. Timothy's vision blurred with tears of rage and hurt. "You're trying to break me, but it won't work." Before Pastor Aldridge could respond, footsteps echoed down the hall. Timothy turned to see his mother, standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock and sorrow. "Richard, stop!" she cried, rushing forward to stand between them. "You can't say that to him." Timothy's heart ached at the sight of his mother, her usual grace marred by tears. "Mom," he began, but his voice cracked. Ava turned to him, her expression pained. "Timothy, he's not himself. Please believe me, you are his son." Pastor Aldridge scoffed. "Ava, stay out of this." "No, I won't," Ava retorted, her voice rising. "You're tearing our family apart." Timothy looked from his mother to his father, the weight of their words and the years of deception crashing down on him. "I can't do this," he murmured, turning away and storming out of the mansion. He spent the night in the church dormitory, wrestling with the truth and the overwhelming sense of betrayal. Brian Sessions, the youth pastor who had become his confidant, offered solace and counsel, urging him to trust in God's plan. Several days later, Timothy's phone rang. It was his mother. Anger flared anew as they exchanged heated words, accusations flying. Unable to bear another moment of her excuses, Timothy ended the call abruptly, his mind reeling. In the days that followed, Timothy avoided the mansion and his family, seeking refuge in the quiet corners of the city. His phone buzzed incessantly with messages and missed calls, but he ignored them, needing time to process. Then, the news broke. Pastor Richard Aldridge was found dead in his study, the victim of a gunshot wound. Timothy's heart sank as the accusations swirled around him, but he knew he had not been near the estate the night of the murder. As the investigation unfolded, Ava Aldridge came forward with a shocking confession. "I killed him," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I couldn't let Richard destroy Timothy again. I had to protect my son." Timothy was cleared, but the revelation about his father and the sacrifice his mother had made left him grappling with conflicting emotions. Through the unwavering support of the church community and his own faith, Timothy found a path forward. He rose to lead the congregation, preaching about forgiveness, redemption, and the enduring strength of faith. In the aftermath of tragedy, Timothy discovered that even in the darkest moments, the Lord was with him, guiding him toward a future filled with hope and renewal. The congregation, inspired by his journey of forgiveness and redemption, rallied around Timothy. Together, they forged a new legacy of unity and healing within the church community. Timothy's sermons resonated with a newfound depth, drawing in believers and seekers alike with messages of grace and compassion. As he stood before the congregation, sharing his story of pain and ultimate forgiveness, Timothy became a beacon of hope, a testament to the transformative power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit. From betrayal and brokenness to redemption and renewal, Timothy Aldridge's story reminds us that even in the shadows of the pulpit, God's grace still finds a way. Until the next episode, may faith lead you forward.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, no matter what fires we face, faith will always carry us through. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. Subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. This is Echoes of Faith, where every story brings hope. If today's story moved you, be sure to discover more heartfelt journeys in the Echoes of Faith series and uplift your spirit. Don't miss out on the next chapter. There's always more to uncover.